Oh, boys and girls, it is that time of year. The LOLLUJO Cup is here. What's the LOLLUJO Cup, I hear you cry? Well, it's that wonderful time of the year when I take every team that I've managed over the course of that game cycle and pit them against each other in a battle to the death or a football tournament, and we find out who is the best team that I've managed on FM22. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Hello folks, and welcome to episode 1 of this year's LOLLUJO Cup. And we have to start things off with a little bit of a disclaimer because unfortunately, because of the way versus mode has worked and was introduced late into FM22, it isn't going to include every team. I know that's going to upset some of you straight away up front, but there's just no way around it. Basically, without going too deep into the weeds and getting too bogged down in detail, the versus mode on FM22 was launched on the 22.3.0 patch, the one that came out after the January transfer window. That's when versus mode appeared. Any team that was exported on a previous version of the game, so before that date, won't work on that version of the game, won't work in versus mode. So that means the Arsenal team from the beta, it means the original Lemington from YouTube, it means Posh from YouTube, Posh from Twitch, but there's no way for me to go back and re-export those teams because I don't keep those saves. I don't like keep a save point. I will from now on, but I don't keep a save point at the end of the series to then go back and be able to re-export the teams. So I went back and looked at the Arsenal beta, for example, and the most recent save is the 5 years in the future, holidayed forward. So there's just no way to go back and get those teams. So it is only going to be 8 teams in this. It's the 8 most recent teams. Let's see if I can remember the 8. We've obviously got Tor, who we've just finished here on YouTube. We've got Lemington, who we've just finished over on Twitch. We've got Norwich and Dortmund and Real Madrid from non-league to legend. We've got Kylian Mbappe's Paris Saint-Germain team. We've got my team that I won the first streamer showdown of the year with. And we've got Everton from the network game. We're about to jump into the game and get started, but before we do, quick reminder, if you haven't yet pre-ordered FM23, you can do that using my link at the top of the description below. It gets you the game for just £32.05. It's an additional discount on top of the discount you already get from Sports Interactive, and it supports me as a creator as well, so it's massively appreciated. Thank you to those of you who've already done it. The link is down there for those of you who now want to do it. It's super cheap. It supports the channel. It's win-win for everybody. Go click the link. Here we go. And by the way, I haven't used versus mode on FM22, really. I've done a little bit of online games, but I haven't really used it. They've snazzied it up. It looks pretty. I mean, they should have made more of a song and dance about this, really. Maybe released it with a full game. But it is quite cool. So here is your confirmation of how the LOLLUJO Cup is going to work. It's a group stage and then a knockout tournament. So we're going to have 2 groups of 4 where everyone plays each other once. And then we go into semi-finals, which are over 2 legs, and a final, which is going to be over 2 legs. So there's your confirmation of the teams. The game wouldn't allow me to use their real names. Apart from Real Madrid, weirdly, I was able to put Real Madrid, but every other team I had to change the name slightly to be allowed to use them. I don't know why, but they are your 8 teams that we've got in. And also, I'll put this out there now before we all see it. There is a glitch in versus mode with player faces where it just kind of randomly generates faces that are somewhere off in the ether. So we're going to get some weird player faces. Just brace yourself for that now. But it is time for the draw. So with 8 teams, we now need to draw to see who's going to be Group A, who's going to be Group B. And this is crucial because the weaker teams, which I think based on the odds that I've already seen, that I think you'll see once the draw is done, the odds have Tor and LOLLUJO, the team off of the Streamer Showdown, and Everton. All 3 of them are considerably weaker than the other 5, which I think the other 5 were all Champions League winning teams or very close to. In fact, Tor won the Champions League. Tor really are an anomaly. But there's 5 really strong teams and 3 outsiders. So it's going to be there's no seedings in the groups. It's going to be interesting to see how things end up. So first team into Group A, we have Dortmund from non-league to legend. The final team in non-league to legend, wasn't it? A Champions League winning team. And then Norwich go into Group B, who we left before we got to win the Champions League. But that's the Norwich team that's got the likes of Schultz and Delgado. We'll have a look through the teams in a little while so you can see who is where. Everton making it into the group with Dortmund, of course, the team that won the network game, because I am a hero. And then Kylian Mbappe's Paris Saint-Germain joining Norwich in Group B. Lemington off of Twitch are in there with Dortmund and Everton. That is not looking like a good group for Everton now. That's a very strong Lemington team and a very strong Dortmund team. Everton possibly going to struggle in that group. Real Madrid making this group even stronger. I think whichever group these two end in, they're finishing bottom of them. I think they're the two weakest teams in the whole thing. The Streamer Showdown team makes it into the team with Dortmund, Everton and Lemington, and Tor have got to somehow try and navigate Norwich, Paris Saint-Germain and Real Madrid. I think Tor are probably done. They're done. So this is how the tournament odds are working out. The game thinks Dortmund are the strong favourites, 11-4 for Dortmund to win, followed by Real Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain, that Lemington team, all fairly strong odds. And then we drop off a little bit. LOLLUJO are 9-1, Norwich 12-1, Everton 33-1, and poor old Tor also out at 33-1. And this is one of the great things about the LOLLUJO Cup, because we get to see real life players with our best new gens of the year. So joint top goal scorer odds are between Kylian Mbappe off of the Kylian Mbappe save. That's player director of football, Kylian Mbappe. A joint favourite with Sergio Delgado, the Norwich vintage of Sergio Delgado. We've then got Mo Salah, Luis Gustavo from the Champions League winning Dortmund team, and then Karim Adeyemi, but this is an old man Karim Adeyemi. This is like a 32, 33-year-old Adeyemi from that Real Madrid team that we had in Non-League to Legend, with Damien, who played with him at Real Madrid. Ruben and Boning off of Dortmund. These are names I remember. Federico Sioni at 18-1. He was never a starter for that Norwich team. No Pedro Luis anywhere on there. And Victor Osimhen all the way down at 18-1 from the Everton team. No sign of Calvert-Lewin. It's a real surprise to see Sioni all the way up there. So the matches that we're going to have in this episode, and episode 2 tomorrow, will have the remainder of the group stage. So we're going to be having a little look through the teams and then doing match day 1 of matches in this episode. So that's going to be Lemington versus Everton and LOLLUJO versus Dortmund from Group A, and then Norwich versus Tor, which, I mean, that's Tor's best chance of points, I think. Norwich against Tor, and PSG versus Real Madrid from Group B. And then tomorrow we'll have the remaining matches. So first game then, Lemington versus Everton. It's a very familiar Lemington team. In fact, these are two very familiar teams, because they're probably the teams I managed for the longest in actual human time over the course of the save, because they both started pretty much when the game came out back in November and carried all the way through until very recently when both saves ended. So the Lemington team, we've got Kim in goal, a back four, Raven, Remy Van Schaik, Dolman and Mile Saka. A big boy in midfield. We can't have nicknames on the versus mode, which is a little bit upsetting, but that's Big Boy for those of you who watch the save and remember him. Partnering Kanyas in midfield, and then Ivani, Izzet and Gonzalez is a 3 behind that showy forward, the number 9 up front. So they're playing in a 4-2-3-1, as are Everton. So we've got Musso in goal, Rendell Correa at right back, Anal and Godfrey in the middle, with Mr. Everton, Luca Dean at left back, Pedro Gonçalves and Gavi as our 2 in the middle. That's not true. It's Gavi and Gravenberch in the middle, with Gonçalves in a 3 with Demir and Richarlison. I don't know why it's done it in that weird order. And then Victor Osimhen is up front. All will make sense when we actually get to see the teams. I'm going to let assistant managers do team talks, because otherwise I've got 8 different teams to manage. It's going to pickle my actual brain. And now we win the ball back through Big Boy, and Ivani is going to try and get the ball away, but Digne just takes it straight off him again. And now Gravenberch, who is a huge threat, and Victor Osimhen is in, and it's less than 8 minutes on the clock, and Everton are already 1-0 up, and I'm feeling a little bit sad. I think this is what I'm going to learn by doing the LOLLUJO Cup. I'm going to learn who actually I want to win, and as that goal went in, my heart just sank a little bit. Normally, who would be getting on the end of those? But that is a terrible free kick. Showy forward, plays it back to Avani, and there is Jeremius Gonzalez, the record signing for Lemington. I think he cost us something in the region of £120 million at the start of the final season of the Save. Took him a little bit of time to settle in, but once he did settle in, he became a superstar, and there's confirmation of his superstar status. He can score a tap-in from a terrible defensive error that he decided to go for showy forward instead, and the move breaks down. But now we have a free kick, and it's Big Boy! And we have once again rattled the frame of the goal, but now it's a counter-attack for Everton, and Victor Osimhen, he's a quick one, but Big Boy is there to get the tackle in, and the counter-attack is just snuffed out before it even really makes it into, I almost said our half, the Lemington half. I'm an impartial commentator, don't you know? Right, Luca Dean forward to Richarlison. Everton starting to apply some pressure again as we approach the midway point of this second half. Pedro Gonçalves, and it's a lovely goal from him from range. Kim is beaten possibly a little bit easier than he should have been. It's looking like Lemington are going to be suffering from a defeat at the hands of Everton in this first match. It's Luca Dean, Mr. Everton, on the left-hand side. Lacroix. Look at us, just dancing out of defence. I do love watching this Everton team do that. I've missed this since the network game finished. Sir Ben Godfrey, back to Lacroix again. And now Calvert-Lewin can't beat Alan Raven in the air, which is a sentence I never thought I'd say. And Marcelo is in! And there's your equaliser for Marcelo and Lemington. He became a goal machine in the final season of the Save. It's Lemington 2, Everton 2. And this is going to leave things all to play for going into tomorrow's match day 2 and 3 that you're going to see. It's going to leave this group wide open. So we've got Alisson in goal, a back four of Trent, Zuma, Fofana and Dallas. And then we've got Fernandinho at the base of a midfield diamond with Keita and Foden in central midfield. Havertz then in behind Rashford and Salah up front. That team is capable of switching to a 4-2-3-1 if it needs to as well, but are starting off in a diamond shape. And then the Dortmund team is playing a 4-2-3-1. We've got Diego Henrique in goal, back four of Max John, who I still think sounds like a motorbike magazine, Posterino, Lewis Stewart and Locatelli at the back. Colin Schultz is actually playing as the attacking midfielder, but once again, weirdly, the team sheets are in a strange order. So it's Drury and Etienne Tipple at version 2, because we've got version 1 also in this tournament at Norwich. So Drury and Tipple in midfield with Schultz, Boning and Ballo behind Luis Gustavo up front. Right, let's get these team talks done by their respective assistant managers. And this LOLLUJO team, notable as the only team in the entire tournament who have actually got current players who are actual players the way they are at the start of the database. Everyone else, every other team in the tournament is from whatever point at the save ended. That's when the teams were exported. This Streamer Showdown team is, of course, a team of current players early on in the database. So this is where you get to see how Mo Salah can do against whoever we've got at the back for Dortmund. Weirdly, none of the kits seem to have come through right, even the kits for real teams. So I guess that's probably a Football Manager licensing thing. But this is lovely football from the Showdown team, and Phil Foden is in. And that was a really nice goal. And this would be a huge upset. If this Dortmund team were to lose their opening match, this turns this entire group on its head. But that was lovely football from the Kevy 7 times Showdown winning team as the game went on, I thought. But maybe this team is still set up. I mean, Mo Salah has just moved there as if he's the Flash. He's moved with superpowers. Look how quickly Salah moves here. It's a goal straight out of Liverpool, Trent to Salah, and it's 2-0 to LOLLUJO. That would suggest that new gens aren't very good, because on paper, this is the smallest squad, the weakest squad. And now Michael Boning trying to restore some order here. Back to 2-1 on 35 minutes. I mean, this Dortmund team is good enough to go on and still win this match after a little bit of a shell shock opening. So as much as I want a showdown with them, and that's how they're in, they don't really feel like my boys. And Luis Gustavo, who is one of my boys, makes it 2-2. And I suspect Dortmund go on and win this game relatively comfortably now, as they should, because that's what that Everton team does the best. And there is the third goal for Dortmund. Stewart with the dominant header. And it's now 3-2 to Dortmund, and Dortmund clearly taking advantage of that. Although Keita wins the ball back in midfield, there is a counter-attack opportunity here. It's played into Mo Salah, who's one-on-one with the keeper, and he scores again. This guy is quite good. Kev's tip of the video, Mo Salah, quite good at football. He was one of the pre-tournament favourites to end up as top goal scorer, despite being in one of the weaker teams. And it's Dortmund trying to push on for a winner of their own. They're behind on XG. They're well behind on XG. But Dortmund, we know they're the better team. They're probably the best team in the whole tournament. And there is Ruben with his second goal. Did he already score once? Regardless, Ruben off the bench has grabbed a goal, maybe a second goal. I think that's his first goal. Drury now playing a little bit further forward, plays it back to Stubaluk, and now Idolov out to Locatelli. What a goal from Andrea Locatelli. Wowzers. So match 3, and this one is a potential heartbreaker for anyone who's been enjoying the Tour series towards the end of FM22, because I think we're about to find out that the Tour team kind of fluked the Champions League win. So say it quietly, we don't want to upset anybody, but this Tour team that won the Champions League, I suspect not as good as this Norwich team that didn't, and also didn't win the Premier League. But this is a very good Norwich team. So Norwich playing the diamond. We've got Hoyenhal in goal. Best goalkeeper of the entire year, maybe? It's probably debatable, but he was a hero. Paviot at right back. Fernandez and Dinamarco in the middle, with Erenua at left back. We've then got Navarro at the base of the midfield. Sandro Tonali, remember, an aging Sandro Tonali, alongside Marco Bindi in the middle. And then Schultz. Second time we've seen Colin Schultz already, behind Sergio Delgado and Pedro Luis up front for Norwich. And then Tor playing in the very familiar 4-3-3 that we used pretty much throughout that save. It's Mogothu in goal, a back four of Antoine, Capital, Say, and Kevin Simon at left back. Milinkovic and Del Palacio Milinkovic at the base of the midfield, with Del Palacio Langer and Fowry ahead of him. And then Nguema on the right, Benavides on the left, and Andre Cruz as the striker, with Afkir Omar having to make do with a spot on the bench. Controversial, but we did do that in the Champions League final, didn't we? I feel like we did that in the Champions League final. Capital playing it forward, but Erenua intercepts and whacks it forward for Capital, and there's Colin Schultz, and that's a little bit more like it. We've just seen him play for Dortmund and have a bit of a poor game and have to get substituted, but the 4 years younger version of him, within the first 2 minutes of this match against Tor, has just done a little bit more of what I would expect to see Colin Schultz do. Had spent 3 years playing on the left wing for a Norwich team that wasn't as good as this one. So this is going to be a massacre, isn't it? Oh my word. Right, Fowry from range. Hoyenhal pushes it into the path of Benavides. I told you Hoyenhal was a hero. He wanted to keep it competitive. Lovely finish from Benavides. I can see someone in the Twitch chat saying that that's not like Hoyenhal at all, but I mean, Hoyenhal, I think, just played out of his skin for our Norwich team. He actually wasn't that good. Who we did hook up again with later in the series. And now Bindi out to Paviot. It feels like there's another Norwich goal coming, and it's Sergio Delgado. And I mean, we've just seen Mo Salah grab a couple of goals for the Streamer Showdown team. Come on, Tor! So, I mean, it's Norwich on the attack again. Say heads clear, and it's Nguema. Nguema's got Omar ahead of him if he can find him. There are 2 Norwich defenders trying to look after him, but it's Afkir Omar. The man is unstoppable. Plays it across to Nguema, and now Milinkovic out to, I think that was Nguema again, and Laurent drills it across to Benavides, who grabs his second of the game. He is up there with Delgado and Mo Salah as top scorer in the tournament so far. Benavides, we're not done yet. Erenua, I really liked, and Cyril Fowry has just fouled her to give away a penalty and potentially get himself sent off. He's not sent off. It's Delgado, though, for his hat-trick, and no heroics from Mogothu today. It is a hat-trick for Sergio Delgado. So final match of match day 1, final match of this first video as well. We're going to get match day 2 and 3 in tomorrow's video. But we have Paris Saint-Germain, Kylian Mbappe's Paris Saint-Germain, the one from the Director of Football series, versus the Real Madrid team that temporary Kev won the Champions League with. This is the Real Madrid team I left days before the Champions League final to go and manage Dortmund because I am insane. Paris Saint-Germain lining up in the familiar 4-2-3-1 with Donnarumma in goal, a back four of Hakimi, Makinos, Kimpembe and Nuno Mendes, Gravenberch and Fabian as our midfield two, and then a three of Zaniolo, Grealish and Mbappe behind Tammy Abraham, the goal machine, up front. And then the Real Madrid team with potentially the best goalkeeper of the entire FM22 cycle, Thomas Silva in goal. So Fontaine at the base of the midfield, and then Bell and Delgado centre mid, Koulibaly then in behind Adeyemi and Damien. It is a diamond. We got there in the end. We figured out what tactic we were playing. The kits are very odd. There's definitely some kit clashing going on here today, though. Zaniolo's been fouled there, I think, inside the penalty area. Mikkel Tadze clattering into Zaniolo, and I assume it's the man himself, Kylian Mbappe, to take the penalty. And look how happy he is. He's just scored a penalty, but it is inside the first 2 minutes of the match. So an excellent start. This has been a masterclass from Paris Saint-Germain. They just grabbed the goal and shut up shop. And that's it. That's a very easy win for Paris Saint-Germain. They've not needed to come out of second gear. Real Madrid haven't turned up at all. And there are your results from match day 1 of the LOLLUJO Cup. Lemington 2, Everton 2, LOLLUJO 3, Dortmund 5, Norwich 5, Tor 2, and Paris Saint-Germain 1, Real Madrid 0, which leads the league tables looking like this. In tomorrow's video, we are going to have the final 2 rounds of the group stage matches. So we will know by the end of tomorrow's video who is going to be making it into the semi-finals of this year's LOLLUJO Cup. Feel free to use the comments section to give us your predictions. If you watched this when it was on Twitch, I don't want your predictions because you already know. That one's just for the YouTube lot. But if you have enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. Football Manager 2023 is on the way. You can pre-order that at the top of the description below, as we mentioned before. And thank you very much for watching.